Hey guys, welcome to a new segment on my YouTube. I'm going to be calling this the Buddhist Sorcerer because I am Buddhist and I am also a witch. And I'm also Native American too, but I don't practice that stuff quite as much as I normally do all the other stuff. So I just wanted to kind of like let you guys know about that. So today's subject, I'm gonna start like super basic, start off like I'm talking to somebody who doesn't know any of this stuff kind of thing. Um, we got one tea, we got some incense, we got all of like the elements going on, we got some water, we got fire, we always got air, and we got even more fire because it's daytime and you're gonna be seeing like my blue eyes even more because it's blaring into my eye right now. But let's see. So I wrote down things that I wanted to talk about. We're gonna start off with like just energy and like how I work with it. Every witch does something different. There is like basics that we all kind of like follow, but like everybody's opinion's different. One witch's practice to the next may be completely different. They might incorporate energy very differently than I do. I don't believe in there ever being a good and a bad energy, so that's where I wanted to kind of like start off. And so, kind of, I like to have like a balance of like all the energy. I have my altar here behind me that I work on like pretty much almost on the daily. I come down and I say hello to my gods and goddesses that I like acknowledge. But then there's also like some people I've talked to like quite a few atheists before, and it's a little complicated because of the fact that like I can understand their perspectives, but it's like that's not really where I vibe. So we're not gonna touch on that right now. I'm getting a little sidetracked. um, but yeah, starting out with energy, I do not believe in good or bad. I can say that there is like possibilities of it getting unbalanced, so it can seem like it's more bad than it is good. But again, I don't really believe in there being a good or a bad energy. It just is an imbalance that kind of makes it seem more like it's bad or maybe more like it's good in that time. But usually, the more balanced energy is, the less it seems like it's chaotic. So, eventually, I'll get around to explaining my jewelry. That'll be in the future episodes. The next episode, I'll be talking more about like kind of how I work with color and stuff and how the energy of color works for me. Um, but kind of just like wanted to make this like a quick little short intro and then like show like things that I like to do on a daily basis. And then eventually I'll get into like what's on my altar and like why it's there and why do I have it set up the way I do. Why is like this setup the most important like this? Why is this color the most prominent kind of in this space? So this is all stuff that's going to come in the future, not right now. But I'm just gonna kind of give you like a little glimpse on like what things I want to talk about are. And then one of my favorite quotes is "As above, so below; as within, so without; as with here, so elsewhere." So that's also another balancing energy kind of thing. So it's like anything that you feel internally can be external as well, and anything that you're picking up on right now can also be something going on elsewhere. So as above, so below. I don't really believe in hell. It's just the higher self, the higher energies, your higher consciousness, your self-control, your ability to be here and now and have control over the ego, which the ego is the physical presentation in the world that we're living in. So I will be saying ego a lot more when I'm talking about my physical appearance and stuff. So that's kind of where I'll be touching on in that. And then as within, so without, anything that you're feeling internally can be reflected on your like perception of reality. So if you are feeling internally bad, that's going to get reflected on how your day is going, and you'll notice more bad things in your day than good, because that's where your mind is. It's not really necessarily you causing it to be bad, it's just you're in a negative mindset, so now you're able to pinpoint negative things, and then it's just feeding it. So it's kind of like when you start off with having one thought process, it can lead to more, and it's kind of like the domino effect, where you knock one domino down, it's just going to keep going unless you make the active stance to stop them from falling. But even then, you can still cause more to fall, but it's less likely to be as many. So that's kind of where that starts out a little bit too. And I've also talked with a couple people before where something in my family that I have noticed, they were very hyper fixated on positive and negative energy, which for a while I understood, but then I like lost the interest in it, because it was just like, you say one little thing and then they'd be like, oh, you need to get out of your negative mindset. And it's just like, it became very annoying because of the fact that I was in my teens and going through puberty, and it'd just be like, I'm experiencing these terrible changes in my body, and plus like I'm trans, so experiencing puberty as a female was not fun. So it wasn't my ideal situation, and I'd be complaining about the things that I'm going through because I'm not enjoying it. And then they'd be like, oh, you just need to get out of your negative mindset, it'll change, you're bringing it to you basically. And that'll kind of, bringing it to you kind of thing is another thing I'll touch on too, because like when you speak words into this reality, you're kind of, what I visualize the body as another way is a wand in a sense. So like the physical body is your wand, where you can bring things to fruition in front of you, and you can do that through your body and your mind. And the three biggest things are the body, the mind, and the spirit. And if those are in sync, then you are more likely to bring forward the things that you dream of doing and to help others. Because through my studies of yoga, I've learned that the purpose of life is not really to just go around and live through this capitalism world and try to fill these cookie cutter things. It's more of, we're here to serve and make it so humanity can move forward instead of dying out. And so us fighting each other constantly, and then social media, news, and like the government or something, I guess, they're all kind of pinning us against each other, and we're all fighting each other, and instead of knowing that our full purpose is to work together to make the greater good of the future for all of us. And so I stay away from anything like that because it can be frustrating, and I don't want to put my energy into that. I want to put my energy into things that make me happy versus fighting the things that don't all the time. Which part of my trans journey has been realizing that a bit more, of being like, you're focusing too much on the negative, which I guess that's also my family speaking in my head too, because I'm like, oh, you're focusing too much on the negative, now you can't see any of the positive anymore. So it's like, I just got to pull myself out of that and stop the domino effect. And so it's a process for sure. And like, I wanted to share this with you guys as well, because of the fact it's not easy to sit there and try to keep yourself focused on your goal all the time and make sure you don't go off track. I mean, obviously have your moments of rewards, but staying goal oriented and staying away from the things that take you away from staying on your goal and focused on it is hard. It's not easy. And once you realize all this kind of stuff, then you're able to like ground yourself more and stay focused and then go in the direction that you want to. So it's a challenge for sure. And then I've also wanted to kind of share with you guys, I am a certified Reiki teacher, or not fully a Reiki teacher, but I am. I haven't gotten the certificate because my mom taught me, but she didn't write the certificate. But I am Reiki 1 and 2 certified. I also have Diamond Light and a couple others too, so here's my certificates. You guys can look at them. And for a while, I was just kind of doing it with my mom as like an excuse to just kind of like spend time with her. And I mean, it was also a thing of interest to me, but my heart wasn't fully in it all the way. Like, I knew I was interested in doing it and having the ability to have this energy work that I can do. And I've never been one to like to enjoy to have like clients or like be an entrepreneur. Like, I don't have the motivation for that. So like documenting things is more my thing. I like to share knowledge. I don't really like to sell products. It's not my thing. I like to do research and then give it to people and be like, here you go, here's what I've learned, this is the stuff that I know now. So that's kind of like my direction I'm going to be going with. I've done that a little bit in my tea video, which is fully me documenting everything. Like, I'm taking a scientific approach towards everything that I learn now, and I think it's a lot more better because of the fact that now I have documentation of things that I learned, and I just vibe with it. So and then so with the last part of the as above so below, it's as here so elsewhere. So you have your goal in your mind, so that's as here. And so the universe, I'm gonna say, I don't really talk about like God as like the bigger whole purpose thing. The higher self is another way I talk about it too. God per se, I believe in gods, but I don't believe in a god of like the almighty ruler in the sky that will smite you if you've done the wrong decision or something, or there's sins and stuff. That's not, I don't vibe with that. I don't believe in sins. I don't believe in hell. So I believe that this is the closest we can be to hell, and then once we die, we're in the eternal bliss of death. And death, to me, is not a scary thing. It is a beautiful thing, because now your ego that's been fighting for this eternal life of lasting forever and having all this knowledge and wants to know everything, which the ego cannot, which is difficult because of the fact that it wants to, and it wants to have the control over the reality, but it can't. And so working with your ego to know that it's not able to have the full control over the reality all the time is an act of control. So you have to learn to control the thing that obsesses over control. And it's kind of like as above so below kind of circulation. It keeps going around and around and around. It's a spiral that just keeps getting deeper and deeper. So that's also involved in sacred geometry, which eventually I'll talk about as well. But that's further along topics. I need to start out with just the basics of like explaining what everything kind of that I will be saying is, so you guys can understand what I'm saying. But yeah, the ego has the urge to always have control over everything. And if you guys want to know more about this, I highly recommend reading the Gita. it also has a division of the Upanishads, the Dharma, and then the Gita. So it's the top three. Those are Buddhist texts, and they have helped me a tremendous amount because of the fact that this past year or the year before, my mom passed away. And so she was my outlet of learning everything, or the beginning of everything that I'm going to be showing you guys and teaching you as well. Or at least showing you because of the fact that this is what I do. You don't have to do what I do, but I've also taken a Wicca class where I can actually be a sorcerer and lead my own coven. So if you guys want to practice the same stuff as I do, you are welcome to, and you are welcome to be part of my little coven, my Buddhist sorcery coven, I guess I'll call my fans. I don't know if that'll stick because I don't know if I fully vibe with that full thing. It seems a little long. We'll need to shorten it. But yeah, this is like my joy. I enjoy this. This makes me happy. It keeps me focused. And I mean, a lot of people probably will sit here and shit on me for it, but whatever. This is part of what I do. I am a Buddhist sorceress, and I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. So, energy, positive and negative. It's always a yin and yang. And so, yin and yang, there is always the good in the bad, and there's always the bad that's in the good. It's just what you're going to focus on. Sometimes it's inevitable to keep your mind from going into the negative, but it's also good to let your mind to go into the negative because then you appreciate the positive more when it is there. And once you are able to acknowledge more negative energy, then you're also able to find more peace with it too. So it's not really negative and positive, it's just what are you going to focus on and how are you going to let it affect how you go about your day. And so when I was in my teens, my family really focused in on this thing called law of attraction. And so you would basically, they kind of went about it a little bit of the wrong way because it was a little misunderstood. The way my mom started out thinking that the law of attraction worked would be you would have a goal and then you would write it down on a piece of paper or in a notebook or something that you feel sacred to, and then eventually the universe would answer you and give you what you asked for. But the problem with what she would do is she wouldn't take any action to making this come. And so this is kind of where I will go into talking a little bit about self-sacrifice, where you have this goal and you have now made this goal set, and I guess you could say you're making a contract with the universe and being like, okay, this is what I want. And the universe is like, okay, what are you going to do to show me that you deserve it? And this is what kind of like the demonic side, I guess, would be of it, where it's like you are making a contract with the universe, you are showing them what you want, and they're asking what's in return. That's kind of where I draw the line after it being like demonic, because you're not selling your soul. But I guess you could dive into it even deeper and say you are, but it's not really the case, because it's like, this is your goal. This is also potentially to help out other people. It's not really just for me, possibly. Maybe it is just for you. Maybe you're just doing self-improvement, so eventually down the line you can do something for other people. But at the end of the day, there is always the goal of helping others. That is something I struggled with when I was in my teens, because I was like, I was very bitter towards everybody. I had a very terrible past. Nothing in my life had ever gone my way. Everything usually always blew up in my face, and that's where my focus was. And so I just never was able to pull myself out of that. And I just felt that tragedy was just how my life was, and that's how it was always going to be. But my mom always had the positive outlook of being like, okay, well, we're going to be eventually having you go on to a happier path. You're not meant to suffer your whole life. So I also really wanted to be an adult where I could have the independence away from my family and have the decisions I could make for myself. And now that I'm finally able to do that, I'm a lot happier because I'm not influenced by them and their decisions of where I should go and what I should do. And that's great because I, even for the first year or two after I moved out, I had still them in my head saying that. I mean, I still do, even to now, because it's your family. You live with them for most of your life until most of your life is out of your house, which I am young enough that is not the case currently. So we're getting there eventually, but not right now. But it's a task. You have to heal your past to be able to move on to the future, because otherwise you can't move on, because you're going to be sitting there holding it over yourself. And for me, I used to let it define me. I used to be like, oh, this is my past, this is how my life's meant to go, this is how it's going to go forever. And that was hard because that's all I ever knew. And so I had to find the direction of where I needed to go, and it took me falling apart completely and losing myself and then having to rebuild up and then learn who I am from scratch, because now I didn't have somebody telling me who I am anymore. I have just me to do that, and then I have to fend for myself. So it was hard from point A to point B, and a lot of people will probably struggle with getting to this point at some point because of the fact that usually to get there you do have to go through some sort of thing that destroys you or self-destructs you, unless you were raised properly to be able to grow up being able to see clearly. Which, even with my mom being who she was very, I would say she was even a witch, but she also worked a lot with angels, and she was very intuitive, and she could talk with spirits, and she was psychic. So it's like I grew up with experiencing her and like who she is, and I watched her go from a person that hated herself to loving herself. So that was also like really beautiful to kind of watch. And so growing up, I was able to get an experience through her on how to like function in this kind of reality. But as I became a teenager, some of the things that she believed, especially the law of attraction, fell away. And so the issue, going back to talking about how my family dealt with the law of attraction and how my mom kind of handled it at first, she just kind of went about it wrong, because she would just write it down and then expect it to come to her. But that's not really how it works. You have to take action to be able to get to it. Law of attraction is not just it's going to come to you because you believe it and because you undoubtedly believe it either. Like, you need to actively put the work in every day for it to come to you. The law of attraction is more like self-control, I would say, because I don't really like law of attraction. I don't really feel it is what comes to you, and if you think negatively, all the negative things are going to come to you, because you can get positive stuff with a negative mindset. You just possibly won't see it because you're in your negative mindset. So I don't really fully believe in that kind of sense of the law of attraction, but I believe more in like you make the effort and you have the self-control and discipline to do it, which is mentioned in the Gita, that you're able to get to there. So it's kind of like an endless cycle of like, yes, it's law of attraction if you ask the right person, but I don't really fully feel that it is because of the way that I experienced it when I was a kid. So anybody can talk about what the law of attraction is, and I'll agree with them because of the fact that I know that like you do have to put the effort in, and law of attraction is doing that. But I don't know, I I don't vibe with it because of the experiences I've had with it. So for me, it's just called self-control and just working through the energies kind of thing. And then it's also something else that's mentioned in the Dharma is the more you serve, the more you're able to kind of gain the energy to serve, which I thought that was very interesting when I first started listening to it, because I was working a cleaning job. And I never thought I would want to work in a cleaning job because, yes, it was something I watched my father doing when I grew up, and I just didn't think I would be happy in doing that, even though I learned through him all of the ways to keep things clean, and it's literally just be detail oriented and notice everything, which is super easy for me because I'm an artist. So I literally notice everything. If there's like a speck on the ceiling, I can see it. And I have very good eyesight, so I'm going to see it. But that's kind of like where energy starts. You just kind of create, you can even just say you're creating a contract with yourself. It's not necessarily like a demon, or it doesn't have to be the universe. It's just yourself. And that's where I would say it's your higher self, because your higher self, for me, in my mind, is the voice that I hear in my head, which not everybody has a voice in their head. I do, which I find very weird that some people can think without a voice in their head. It's very odd. I know there is quite a few people out there that are like that, but I am not one of them. I have the voice in my head. So for me, that is my higher self. That is me guiding myself and directing myself and going where I need to. So higher self is thoughts, if you want to simplify it. And so then the universe for me would be like the external workings of how things are going to get better. So it would be, I guess, time, if you want to simplify it again, where you just know that everything's going to be okay eventually. You just need to be patient. And another thing that can be an issue with the ego is very impatient, because it knows its time is limited and it's going to die someday. So it's very anxious and it wants to keep going and going, and it wants everything to be done now, and it wants to be problems to have solutions right now. But when you do give it time and you trust in the universe, you find that things can get solved and things do get better. So it's just relax, be patient, know that everything will get there eventually. And setting a time frame for a goal as well is really important. And even though I say the universe is time is a man-made construct and it's not necessarily true, but donating like your physical time is kind of a form of self-sacrifice in my mind, where you're getting older, you're giving more of yourself away, and now there is less of you, basically, because time goes on and you expire, I guess. So yeah, it's energy is where it starts for me, and time is energy, E equals MC square kind of thing. Mass and everything starts out as a thought, and then eventually it becomes a habit if you can stick to it long enough, and then it is your life. So it's just about following what you want and staying goal-oriented and task-oriented. So that's kind of where energy for me starts. And eventually I'll be like kind of reviewing the Gita, and I mean, I listen to it like basically once a month at least now, because it helps me see where I need to still make improvements in myself, and then also where I need to kind of dial it back maybe a little bit sometimes too. But I feel that I've made great progress in growing and becoming more myself. So, and I would actually even say that I love myself now too. So there's that. And it's really good to finally be able to come to the conclusion of being able to say that for myself. I've never been able to say that in my past until I finally grew and became more myself that I am now. So, if I was to meet myself when I was in my teens, I'd probably sit there and be like, what? Whoa, okay, was not expecting that. But then I would also tell myself that my mom passed away and I probably would understand. So, yeah. And another thing, I'm pretty good at predicting things through my art. And for me, art is an expression of your higher self, of your soul. And there's, even though there is some art that can be questionably, if it's good, it's still beautiful in some sense because it's still an expression of your soul. And that's what art really means to me. And everything's art. Even just like breathing air can be art. Like it's just the way you take the breath in and like exhale. Like that's a form of art. It's your unique way of existing. And that is beautiful. So, yeah. Let's see. Trying to figure out if there was anything else I wanted to touch on that's kind of like basic knowledge for starting out with energy and stuff. But it's usually just having self-control, staying calm, and being patient. Those are the top 3 things. And goal-oriented, if you wanted to add another one. But yeah. And yeah, I just think that's probably about where we're going to start. And then next time I'm going to talk more about like color and how I organize my space to kind of enhance things. It also just kind of like brings pleasure, even if some people don't believe in the energetic effects of the color. I just feel that it kind of gives you more of a balance in knowing that like this space is where this color resides, or when I wear this color it helps me feel this way, or like something like that. And I kind of am approaching this in a sense that like somebody is very closed-minded and is not going to be very accepting of like things that I say. So there it is a little bit of like kind of a sensitive topic that I'm starting to share this because of the fact that I've been kind of suppressed and not really accepted in the senses of like who I am, and a lot of people can misinterpret a witch and see them as like a devil worshiper, but it's really just honoring the energies. And hugging a tree seems a lot more better to me than sitting there and going into a place and putting my hands in front of my face or something and then praying and then thinking that things will get better, even though you just, again, that's praying to me is kind of in the same boat of law of attraction, where it's just like, I suppose it works, but are you taking the action? And recently I've started asking for more like blessing kind of things, where like bless me with the energy for the day or something, or bless me with abundance to come into my pocket so I can pay off my bills and be able to move forward and move towards my goal that I have. So, and then also asking for the blessing of like patience and staying calm and keeping a level head moving through a day, because I used to be a very angry person. So I would lash out at any little thing and I get frustrated very easily, especially since I was living in a place where I didn't feel I could be myself. So I was very angry because I couldn't self-express. And I mean, I probably could have, but I didn't feel it was appropriate, and I didn't really know who I was to be able to express them even to begin with. So that's probably where the anger originated from, where I was like, I don't know who I am, and I don't know how to express myself because I don't know who me is. So working with the energies and kind of sorting it out, and then throwing things that I don't want to be anymore in the trash has been like a lot better. So thank you guys for seeing my little intro video of Buddhist sorcery, and next time we'll be talking about color. And thank you guys for watching, and if you guys want to check out my tea video to kind of figure out like who I am, what I've gone through a little bit, and my transition, I've changed a lot. I've grown up a lot too, and it's only been like about 7 months. And I just reduced my videos down to once a month, and it's been feeling a little weird not doing an every other week post, so now I'm able to focus more on doing this. And then I'm also going to be adding in like a cosmetology one as well, because I am a licensed cosmetologist. A little bit of a jack of all trades kind of thing, I guess. And so if you guys wanted to go check out the other kind of like playlist thing that I have, it's called My Tea Journey. And then I also have my Instagram where I post my like art and photography. I love to take photos, so there's a lot on there. And then I also got my Twitter, which I haven't really been posting to, so we can just ignore that one. That's under DylanSchuyler if you are interested. But DylanSchuyler spelled D-Y-L-A-N, and Schuyler is S-C-H-U-Y-L-E-R. And yes, it's a very weird spelling. My mom chose it, and I love my name the way it is. So Dylan is my trans name, if you guys were curious. And let's see. We also got TikTok, where I do makeups and stuff, where I like to do little like drag king makeup and yeah. I also got my Spotify, it's called The Walking Podcast. That's where I kind of trauma dump. So if you guys wanted to go see what kind of like life I used to have and why I was the way I was, then feel free to go check that out. And thank you guys so much for watching, and if you guys want to connect or even like just message me and ask any questions. I don't know if I got a little sidetracked. I probably did a couple times. And then I'll also be adding to my boat journey eventually as well, because I've been doing a lot of research on that. I actually was just doing that and you can kind of tell because my brain's a little bit fried. But we're getting better and learning a lot and staying focused on it as well. And I'm learning to become a UX designer as well, so your boy be learning a lot of shit. Never stop learning. It keeps the mind sharp. So thanks guys for watching again, and I hope you guys have a great daytime, night of day. Woo! I don't know why I always say it like that, but hey, have fun.